What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and it's Top 10 Thursday. I was just playing a little bit to the last level of Metroid Fusion and thinking about how it's interesting that this is from such a different time. An era where the game you got is the only thing you'd play. There was no DLC or add-on content of any kind. But now, things have changed. Some games get giant patches or get completely reinvented after launch. So this week, I actually want to do something special, which is look at the games that tried to come out with interesting DLC that ended up completely changing the entire experience. These are my picks of the top 10 games with crazy DLC. Number 10. Saints Row 4. When it comes to games that are trying their best to be absolutely ridiculous, there's probably no series better known than Saints Row. Throughout these games, you get superpowers, fly around, and use dildos to beat people up. Pretty much anything that you can possibly fit into your brain as being weird is somewhere in this. But the Enter the Dominatrix DLC takes all that into cyberspace. Aliens come down, steal your brain, and trap you in their own weird version of the early 2000s movie Matrix. Does any of this make sense? Not really, but is it a ton of fun getting lost in this increasingly bizarre world? Definitely, and I have to say that even after having completed it several times, I still enjoyed the fact that it is just trying its best to be way, way too far. Number 9. Arma 3. There's a very small, select group of people who want their shooters to be as accurate as they possibly can be, to get a sense of realism that cannot be captured in any other format. And in that case, those people love Arma, because these games are brutally tough to learn. Every single part of this game is so intricate that really, the only people who can play it well are usually those who have studied the military itself, which is why it was quite shocking when they announced that they would be adding KARTS. Yes, you're hearing me correctly. This is basically DLC that adds in Mario Kart. You can drive around and be goofy, make your own tracks, or just go on a killing spree while in your tiny, happy vehicle. Even after having tried several hours of this, I can't help but realize that this is so out of place, but it's actually real. Number 8. Bioshock Infinite. How do you go about making add-on content for a game that already has such a shocking twist ending? Well, in this case, you go into a total alternate reality to go on a different adventure in a completely unrealized version of Rapture. Everything about this DLC is very, very strange because the art style, music, and even who we play as is so far removed from the rest of the universe that it feels almost like a strange dream, like we're seeing something that was meant to happen and will then cause shockwaves that influence the rest of the Bioshock series. By the time I finished this, I was not only having my jaw on the floor, but it made me just kind of sad that this studio ended up falling apart. It's just one of those things that makes me have a startling revelation that anything that comes along now that's called Bioshock can't possibly be as amazing as this was. Number 7. NieR Automata. In general, I try and make it a point not to use the word strange to describe a game that tries to be so brilliant. This game is quirky, but you can tell the developers made every single part of it with a really conscious effort. They wanted to be, and her story to be really, really, well, unique. To stand out from the rest of other hack-and-slash RPGs and be something that sticks in the back of your memory for years to come. I do think, though, that when it came to the downloadable content, they just wanted to be really strange, and in that case, they absolutely nailed it. This is a super neat extra area you can now visit, and when you go inside, you battle the CEO of Square Enix and Platinum Games. Yep, if you're picturing fighting little Japanese men or shooting out lasers, well, that's what it is. I mean, look at it. What's kind of funny, though, is that this is really hard. I died against these guys probably 700 times. I've never beaten them because they're flying around shooting out all sorts of giant ghost heads and stuff. Whoever thought of this deserves a raise, because this is just too weird. Number 6. Resident Evil 7. When it comes to birthdays, everybody likes to celebrate. It's kind of just human nature that you want to try and just toast the fact that you're 1 year older and 1 year wiser. It turns out that even if you are possessed by an evil spirit and have become a huge mutant like the Baker family, you still want to sit down and eat some cake. This DLC is super odd because basically the entire point is this. Papa Baker wants to have a good time, and the way you're going to do that is apparently by running around in the basement shooting these weird mutants, and as they die, they're actually wearing fedoras, they shoot out confetti, and it gives you more points. And you're supposed to last as long as you can. Every single part of this is laser focused on being hilarious. After having such a dark and serious game, it's kind of funny that they just decided to go in this way. I mean, even the guy himself, Papa Baker, this guy has probably massacred 150 people by himself, and yet here he is just having a seat, enjoying himself, and wearing goofy party hats. Number 5. Assassin's Creed 3. By now, it's become pretty obvious that each of the games in this franchise are just basically loosely based on history. They take actual people and actual events and then kind of just exaggerate them to make them more fun to play through. But for this DLC, they decided, screw history, screw accuracy, let's go really crazy with it. And that's kind of why it's so awesome. The tyranny of King Washington puts you against an evil lord who has decided to use the Apple of Eden to make himself a god in early America. It doesn't make a dang bit of sense. I mean, really, all of this is so weird that it's carried out in an exuberant fashion. By the end of it, I didn't even know what the heck was the point. I mean, the fact that we are just playing around in such an interesting time period, but in such a messed up fashion, is so addictive. I'd say that in general, Assassin's Creed has a lot of problems, but this DLC, for all it's worth, is actually probably better than the main game itself. Number 4. Final Fantasy XV. Without spoiling anything specifically, I just want to really roughly say that the conclusion of this game was a little bit sad. It just had kind of a really melancholy wrap-up to a tale that at times had some real bright spots. To try and fix this, the developers went back and created some add-on content in the form of episodes, each one giving us a deep dive look at what another character was doing at different sections of the story itself, and I thought that these were all quite interesting and fun. But when it came to the final episode, Ignis, this is where things went truly off the rails. They provided an option to completely rewrite the ending, where essentially you get a chance to confront the last boss early on and just murder the guy, straight up kill him before he has a chance to destroy the planet. This was so freaking left field. I really had no idea that something like this could even happen, but the weirdest part is that it works. I mean, if you wanted, you could treat this like its own separate piece of the tale and kind of acknowledge it as the ending you prefer. Number 3. Asura's Wrath. Imagine if somebody made a fighting game where instead of trying to battle other people who are about your power level, everybody you faced was absolute giant gods, to the point in which they're literally punching planets and exploding asteroids in orbit. That's pretty insane, right? Well, somebody made it, and it's called Asura's Wrath, a little hidden gem that I still think is one of those standout experiences that we'll probably never get again. But even after you beat the game itself, there is an extra option to carry on the adventure, to give you something that challenges you more than the original plot it ever provided. Of all the DLC though, I have to say that the ones called Lost are really the ones that stick to me the most because, well, you fight all sorts of craziness. Like here, it is Ryu. You literally go up and battle Ryu in space. I could not make this up. I mean, every part of this is so bizarre, but I love it because in a quirky way, I think that this actually kind of functions, and that's why I like it. I mean, true, it's fast and really cool to look at, but more than that, it's actually something that's put together with a ton of skill. By the end of this, you truly feel like if you were this Asura god of war, you could actually rip apart Ryu in this weird space battle. Number 2. Far Cry 3. I want to start this entry by saying up front that when I first tried this game, I honestly thought it might be one of the best things I'd ever tried in my life. Far Cry 3 is so brutal at times, just dropping you on an island covered in psychopaths and drug dealers and expecting you to shoot your way out or die trying. For that, I respected every single second of it, and when I heard they were making downloadable content, I expected it would carry on these themes of rawness, and instead, they did this. Blood Dragon is nothing but an eccentric, over-the-top, realistic version of a reality where you actually can play through an 80s action movie. It is so freaking good. I mean, really, I almost want to laugh just looking at the gameplay. The fact that I can shoot a bow and arrow and fight giant cybernetic dinosaurs. The fact that the cutscenes are like 8-bit erotica. I cannot believe that somebody sat down in a boardroom, pitched this movie, and then they spent thousands of hours making it. I completely believe that this is what downloadable content needs to be in the modern day. It advances what made the original game fantastic, and then also twists it on its head to make you question what is real. Number 1. Red Dead Redemption. Rockstar Games is probably the studio that's most renowned for creating massive open-world experiences that are just chock full of things to do, areas to travel to, and just sights to see that are just so startling. You remember every moment of these games because they provide an experience that can't be replicated by anybody else. I found the original Red Dead Redemption something so fresh. I really kind of just wanted to go around the Outback and see this unique part of American history and, well, get in some great gunfights in the process. When it came to the DLC, though, I really didn't know what they could possibly do. It was just such a final ending, but they decided to go in a complete different direction and make it a horror game. They decided to make it where the Wild West is being taken over by zombies, and the only way to fight the undead off is by being the best gunslinger ever. Every part of this DLC manages to just expand on what made the first game great in a completely original fashion. It's impossible not to love what they've done with this, and it shows the fact that these are really developers that are the masters of their craft. And for that reason, I award this my pick as the absolute craziest DLC. Come on. Dang it. Oh, did your favorite game not make the list? Got an idea for a future top 10? Leave it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. I've beaten this game. I'm aiming it towards the spotlight so you can see it. I've beaten this game like 10 times, and it still just blows my mind. This is probably my favorite Metroid, and I just think that if anything, this should definitely get a remake. Or maybe somehow give me some Game Boy Advance DLC. I'd probably be okay with that. Oh, hey, I was just playing a little bit of Grand Theft Auto on my Darth Vader PSP. Are you curious what I'm going to come out with next? Well, if you click this button, you'll be subscribed to be the first to know. Also, if you click over here and here, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. I promise, it was super good. Or it was really bad, and I'm sure you can just make fun of me in the comments. Either way, it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching.